Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another 10-minute investor eye test. This is Sasha with Arcana Ventures. I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Carmelo. And today we are looking at Session app, massive messaging platform. So Session is an end-to-end encrypted messenger that minimizes the collection of metadata. It's an application that's been compared to Telegram, and it's an application that's used by a lot of people that value privacy and freedom. It seems that Sessions announced that they're going to launch a token potentially to decentralize the operation and ownership of their platform. And I guess we're going to find out if that's true or not. Carmelo, have you used Session before?
I have never actually even heard of it. Like you just mentioned to me today, and I said that sounds amazing. Let's cover it. I'm keen to figure out what it does and how it's better than Telegram, which is sort of the industry standard for crypto. But I imagine that they're going to be doing more with privacy and more with decentralization, which is obviously exciting. But how does the token tie into it? And this is an existing product that's incorporating a token, which is always exciting. From a token economics build perspective, I like adding or integrating a digital asset into something that's already functioning and it's already working. So that's exciting. I want to see how they're incorporating this token and why it needs to exist and is it worth investing in, which is the point of all these 10-minute investor eye tests. So, yeah, that's all I know about it right now.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for this one. I've used Session before, but only once, and to
Hmm.
communicate with a friend of mine who's actually a very sketchy person. So I don't know if, like, it's the people that use Session are really, really privacy focused. Like, what do they call them? Doomers, like people that are preppers, for like the end of
Doomsday
days.
preppers.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's only used by people like this, but it sounds like more and more people are using this application. So we're gonna go ahead and dive in, and the goal remains the same. Gonna take 10 short minutes, maybe cheat a little bit, to understand what the token does, how it's tied into the product, and if we think it'd be a good investment for us. So make sure you stick around until the end, where we give our verdict. And yeah, without any further ado, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 10 minutes on session starting right. Meow. Boom. Okay. And so we've got crypto rank up. They've got they're actually keeping tabs on the session token ICO, which is starting tomorrow. Excuse me. But it looks like they've got an ICO on Legion. And there are a few people or a few companies that have contributed to their seed sale, one of which we actually know someone from, DACM.
Stack 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting they're doing an ICO and like we mentioned, this is a pre-existing company that's already been functioning for I'm not sure how long, but it's always interesting to see what the motivation is to raise funds. Like this, maybe this isn't so necessary to raise another $1 million. It's just about getting those tokens out to the public in a different way and bringing in a little bit of money. But they're not like going for a $20 million raise like we've seen from some other companies lately.
Honestly, it's funny. Like they probably could, like this is a
Probably, yeah.
consumer product that's got pretty decent traction already, right? And it's
Yep.
something that many people in this industry can probably agree is needed, especially with all that's happened with the founder of Telegram over the past year. So like people want something that's a little bit more censorship resistant and maybe even like distributed or decentralized. So yeah, I guess that's really cool, and they're not raising a whole lot. But let's go ahead and dive into Session and see what it actually is. So we've got the website up here, and this is just the application website. It gives you an idea of what this application kind of looks like. Like I said, it's already out there. People use it. It's kind of cool. Um, and this gives a kind of brief overview of what this application is. Super simple messaging app. Mello, one of the weird things I noticed when I started using it is it instead of people having like usernames, it kind of gives everyone like a string of characters, like a MetaMask wallet address. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, decentralized and anonymous. I understand the concerns that some of the users might be sketchy, but I think there's nothing sketchy about privacy, and this is exciting. I love what I see so far. One possible use case for there being a token and being some degree of decentralization is, they're gonna run into problems in the future. Like you said, Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, ran into issues in France. He was detained, and maybe they want to avoid that because you can't be end to end encrypted, not sending out metadata, not providing backdoors to the government. as a centralized company anymore. I don't think that's possible. So maybe that's just an effort to stay, steer clear of those troubles.
I think you're absolutely right. And, this might be like a big middle finger to regulators saying, like, okay, we know that you're anti censorship resistant technologies. And so as a result, like, we're just going to put this all on like blockchain rails. It's going to be automatic. You cannot take it down. It's operated through like let's say a network of contributors. And so there's no single person that you can target to try and bring this network down. Maybe that's their strategy. But funny enough, there is an entirely separate token website, and I've got it up here. So this is for the SESH token, um, making session possible.
Do
And
you think
yeah, like
it's weird that the regular website looks so much sleeker and more professional than the Web3 website?
no, I don't think it's weird. I think they've got to like dumb it down for the crypto idiots. Let's be honest. But like it doesn't look nearly as nice, and it does look a little bit more degen. But what I'm seeing right now is that there's rewards and there's nodes.
Yep.
It kind of makes me think that they're launching some sort of like blockchain network almost, right?
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a blockchain network, but yeah, like obviously a communication network does have conduits and nodes, so it makes sense to decentralize this as well. Like you're helping provide it does function in essence similar to a blockchain. So you're keeping some record of messages and you're helping transmit them, but it's not in a centralized fashion. It's a more distributed or decentralized way. So that's obviously what we expected. But how do we incentivize node runners with the token or with by some other means? And do they sell nodes, or do you have to pay to operate a node, or do you have to buy a certain amount of tokens and stake them to use a node? These are all questions I would personally ask them if I had them on a call right now on a pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many questions to ask here. I do want to point out that this is a very strange photo for tokenomics. I don't know who did this, but it's a little bit upsetting. But I see here that you can stake the token to secure the network and earn rewards right from your browser. So, like we've talked about, there's nodes here. There's staking. Maybe it's a proof of stake type of mechanism where it maybe is tied to some sort of network that's essentially guaranteeing the delivery and the authenticity of messages between users. Maybe it's like decentralized hosting of the platform. Even we don't know yet, but it's very. This website is very very heavy on the language around earn rewards.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that with some of our portfolio companies we've given advice to. Like, you kind of need to be heavy on the rewards aspect in the beginning because, you know, it doesn't matter how motivated you are by your own ethos or ideology. It's really hard to get people to buy in initially. Like, people are not going to just join for the greater good, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay,
says here that
Arbitrum
they're
one.
Yeah, interesting. They're going with Arbitrum. But yeah, we got to try and figure out like, tokenomics, what does the token do? How is like what does the actual node network do? Are they decentralizing ownership or operation of session, which is that's going to be that sort of like regulatory buffer that the team that's developed this application is going to use to protect themselves, hopefully.
Yeah, and the foundation or whatever company they have that's going to spin off from this or be the parent company in charge of it is still open to scrutiny, obviously. But yeah, it looking more and more like they have their own maybe layer three or some sort of subnet on Arbitrum, like an Arbitrum one. I can't remember what they call it, but maybe they will have their own blockchain dedicated strictly to this communication network.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not 100% familiar if it's an orbit chain on if it's built on
Ah,
Arbitrum 1, but
yeah.
um let's see. We've got nodes here, and what we want to understand is what the nodes do, right? So a full session node requires stake of tokens.
Hmm.
Um and here we go, Sybil resistance. Caters for market-based Sybil resistance. The Sybil resistant qualities are inherited by session and other applications. So the resistance is key to the network's ability to preserve the privacy of both session users and other network users. So yeah, it's a sort of like safety net or security network that the nodes are operating on, right? It doesn't give
Yep.
a lot of information around the technical aspects of it, which is what I would love to see, honestly. Like diving into some of the tech stuff would give me an idea of like what exactly are they decentralizing with the node network.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. This is kind of what I expected to see, and I'm sure there's more information. Like some of the comments we get on our videos are, "Hey, read the white paper more thoroughly next time." And we obviously only have 10 minutes, so we're trying to glean as much as we can here. The actual regular session website might have more information about the tech. This is probably more focused on the token and the nodes, but you're absolutely right. And here above actually answers our question. It says a native L1, which includes rewards. So
Hmm.
this is a layer one network. Calculation logic and voting logic required to deregister or punish nodes on the network. So this is similar to what you and I have built before, especially with like Arbitrum orbit chains. You know, you want to de-incentivize malfeasance and incentivize people that actually bootstrap the network and help make sure that it's a healthy, living, breathing ecosystem, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. You made a really good point about the tech because I highly doubt that session is going to take, like let's say significant portions of how their infrastructure operates and then completely convert things over into like blockchain operation. So I
Yep.
don't think that's what's happening here, but it would be interesting to understand like what's the blockchain really doing? How is it guaranteeing the security or privacy of users? Is their data stored in the blockchain? Is their data stored in transactions of the blockchain? Are they storing text messages? There's something else happening. So
Yep.
that'd be really interesting. I do see here, and I saw on the previous website that tokens can be used for spending for premium services on the application. So not only can users, let's say, operate a node, contribute to network privacy, but they can earn tokens and then spend those tokens for things on the network. And it's funny because like we were talking about boosting our own Telegram group and how the only way to earn boosts is by like buying other people Telegram Premium, which is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
This is like a maybe a better way of doing that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, and it might be a covert way to onboard more people into crypto as well, because everybody could use and benefit from like a nice, easy to use messaging app.
Oh, that's our 10 minutes. Man, we went through a lot on this one. Feel good.
Yeah,
Feel real good. Uh,
efficiency.
so before we dive into verdicts, I want to remind everybody if you're enjoying this content, if you're enjoying Carmelo and my stupid banter, make sure you tap that like button. Throw us a follow. We got some fun content coming out very soon, some very cool interviews in the Boom Room, and as always, some more cool X spaces. And yeah, Carmelo, let's go ahead and dive into verdicts. What's your take on session?
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, I don't think there's anything suspicious about wanting privacy. I think, one of the biggest reasons why I'm interested in blockchain and Web3, whatever you want to call it, is data economy. And I hate the idea that people are so willing to freely give away their data every day. Google, Apple phones, whatever, anything you sign up for, anything you put your information in, you're being harvested. Amazon accounts. We've joked around before about like 23andMe and these companies that like have your genetic data. So like, I don't love the idea of those magically getting leaked every 6 months, almost like clockwork. And if we're gonna have our data used and stolen, we might as well get paid for it, or just don't have it get stolen. I want to remain private. I want to have private conversations with my friends, as long as you can demonstrate there's nothing shady going on. But that's a little bit of a different story. And I think one of the biggest issues we run into with these sort of social media, decentralized social media or messaging, is how do you prevent the bad, like that 0.0001% of criminal activity, terrorism, or whatever, while letting everybody else that has nothing to hide, that's not doing anything wrong. They just want their simple privacy. So I love the idea of this. I don't know how they're willing to put their foot down and stop that sort of activity, what they're doing to mitigate that. But I do love the idea of decentralized communication, end-to-end encryption, not harvesting us from metadata, just a simple messaging app that is built and run by a decentralized network like that pretty much checks all the boxes for me. Actually, I still don't have a great idea of what the token's doing, but I have a good general idea, so I feel good enough to say that I would probably take a deeper look into this. So one thumb up. That's not saying I would invest in it, but I definitely see the appeal. and I would take some more time to run through this, speak with the team, look into what they built before. I would actually take some time to use the app, because sometimes we don't have the benefit to use a demo or play the game or use the app. We just have to blindly invest just based off of a video maybe. So here we actually can use the app and see how it functions and see if we like it enough to invest in the digital aspect. But I think one stipulation I would put in here is, how much have they raised before, like against equity? Like, what does this company look like? How many companies have been spun off for the digital asset? And how does that overlap? Like, are you actually getting part of the revenue coming from here? Is it totally separate business? Are there multiple networks? Does everybody have to opt into this Web3 network, or use the traditional rails for the whatever's been operating up until now? Because it's obviously already live and running and functioning. So those are some questions I would ask, but there's obviously a million more that we would have to uncover if we dig into this deeper.
Oh yeah, that's a good take. Honestly, very good take. And I think you made such a good point around dividing the business model versus the token economy. And it's probably something that many people are not even asking. And we didn't see a whole lot of information on that. This is maybe a great example in my mind of let's say, a fantastic product, maybe a successful business, but a token economy that brings some financial risks for investors. And so I want to be clear, like, from a business viability perspective, what Session is doing might be very strong. For all intents and purposes, let's call them, having the first mover advantage, right? They're creating potentially a decentralized, privacy-focused messaging application, which, like, there are not many big or globally adopted ones that come to mind compared to what Session has done so far. And so if the business model depends on like premium features, then we know that business model is quite successful because Telegram's doing very well, right? And Session seems to be a more simple application, maybe with less overhead. So the business model itself seems quite good. And the idea of Session being, let's say, an industry-leading privacy application, a privacy messaging application, and you think about, like, as an investor, what are all the things that can go wrong? Well, if they get hacked or something and then people's data gets leaked, they just end up, like any other messaging application. It's like that Mitch Hedberg joke, when an escalator breaks, it just becomes stairs. So, like, there's not a huge risk there because they can recover from a hack and still offer a great service. So as long as the application's good and the product is good, then people are going to continue to stick around, right? But on the token economy side, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense yet, because I don't really know what they are decentralizing, or how, like, what part of the technical stack are they putting into the blockchain to operate. So I don't have any idea of, like, should that token accrue value with more Session users coming on board? Because I can almost guess and say, like, I'm pretty sure more users are going to come on board. There's a huge need for something like this. But does that translate to value? I don't know. But everything I've seen so far, everything I know, one thumb up. I definitely would dive deeper, maybe read a technical white paper and understand, like, the gaps in my understanding or my info. But yeah, that's our fast 10 minutes on Session app and the Session token. Thank you everyone again for watching. It's been a pleasure. And make sure you stick around. Like I said, tap that like button, throw us a follow. More fun content coming, some incredible interviews coming. And next week, we're back with another eye test. Until then, stay safe, y'all. And best of luck to the Session team.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.